Well, let's talk about why working for someone else kind of sucks. And at the end, I'll propose a solution. Because here's the reality. If you bring up a problem and you don't actually bring up a solution, then you're really just complaining. And complaining really doesn't lead to anything good. So let's talk about the problem of working for someone else. And then I'll propose a solution. So make sure to stay to the end. And I'm gonna share the 3 different paths that you can take if you wanna become an entrepreneur or start and grow a business. And 2 of them are not commonly talked about at all. So I'm gonna go over those and then which one you should choose. So let's jump in. All right, so in 2014, I worked for a well-known bank and financial services company. And my wife and I were living in Philadelphia at the time, and we were getting ready to go on one of our dream trips and vacations. We were going to be taking a trip to India and Bhutan. For those of you who don't know, Bhutan is considered to be the happiest place in the world. It is a beautiful place. And Bhutan has something called their gross national happiness, which is this index that they use that guides the decision-making of their government to ensure that their people are as happy as possible. I mean, who wouldn't want to take a trip there? But when I put in my time off request, I got a phone call from my manager, and my manager said basically this in a nutshell. It was like, hey, you really shouldn't be taking time off because you're in your first year with the company and building up your book of business, and you should really be focused and sacrificing so that you can build up your book of business and be successful. Now note this, at the time, I didn't get any paid vacation. I was in a role where I got no paid vacation. My role was as a financial advisor, and my pay and compensation was all based upon my performance. The revenue that I generated for the company, I would get a percentage of it. And in that role, there was no like, hey, you got a week off of PTO or 2 weeks off of PTO. There wasn't any of that. If I didn't work, I was not getting paid. So here I was working for this company, and my boss is basically saying like, hey, you shouldn't be taking time off. Now granted, she did wind up approving the request, and I do believe that her intentions were good, which was basically saying, hey, you're in your first year with our company, and you gotta kind of sacrifice and work hard and build up your book of business, and now's not really the time for leisure or fun. But I really don't think that hard work and sacrifice are mutually exclusive, and I can tell you as someone who's started multiple businesses over the last 5 or 6 years, I now know that to be true. So this leads to point number 1. Someone else controls your time. So what do I mean by this? Imagine for a second that you get up to go to the bathroom. And as you're getting up to go to the bathroom, I'm like, whoa, hey, where are you going? You're like, I'm going to the bathroom. You're like, no, sorry, you can't do that. You gotta sit right there, you gotta stay. You can only use the bathroom when I tell you you can use the bathroom. It's not your break time yet. And if it's not your break time, sorry man, can't go to the bathroom. Well, I know that seems like a kind of a funny or silly example, but that's how it works working for someone else. I mean, a lot of times they tell you when you can take your lunch break, when you can take a break. If you have something coming up, a family issue, or you need to use your phone for a second, it's usually frowned upon. And so you have someone else controlling your time and telling you what you can or can't do and when you can or can't do it. I mean, when I was working in my last corporate job, we had to be there at 8:30 sharp every day. I was on the leadership team of the company. I mean, I would sit in meetings with the CEO and help drive the corporate decisions. And I still had to be there at 8:30 a.m. sharp. And it was just, to me, the most rigid type of thinking, this rigid schedule of you got to be there from 8:30 to 5, or you got to be there from 8:30 to 6. And I just thought, oh, that's so annoying and it's frustrating. And honestly, when you add the commuting time, it just made it really annoying too, because it was about 45 minutes away. But then think about taking time off, right? So whatever you want to take time off, you have to put in a request, and that has to be approved. Now you may say, hold on, Tariq, I get 3-4 weeks of vacation. I got plenty of vacation time. Well, what happens when 3 people in your department or your team all want to take vacation at the same time? Thanksgiving, Christmas, and now you guys have to be on a rotating schedule where, well, sorry, you requested off for Christmas, so we can't give you off for Thanksgiving either. It really sucks. And look, in the eyes of the employer, I get it. I mean, as someone who owns a business and has a staff, I completely understand what it's like to be on that side of the perspective. My point is, wouldn't you rather be the person on the other side? Wouldn't you rather be able to make your own decisions? And if you want to take time off, you can. If you want to travel and work remotely, you can. If you want to be more flexible with your work schedule, you can. I mean, fast forward to this year, my wife and I, we're both full-time entrepreneurs now. We have multiple businesses, and we set a goal as a couple and as a family that once every 3 months, we wanted to spend 1 week working remote in a vacation type destination. So we've already taken 2 of those trips this year. The first one, we went to Clearwater, Florida, and we got to spend a lot of time at the beach, and we were able to bring our nanny with us and rent this awesome house and be able to go into the office later so that we could go to the beach in the morning and spend time with our son. And then we would come home earlier. We would come home, I think, around 3 or 4 o'clock because we rented a little office share while we were there. And then we would get to spend the rest of the night as a family. And it was really great and amazing. And then we took the Friday off, and then we took, obviously, the weekend off as well. And then we did another trip to Jacksonville Beach. And it was just amazing. We were able to be productive and get things done with our business, keep making money, manage our staff, our teams remotely, and enjoy an amazing quality of life. We didn't have someone telling us like, hey, you got to be at your desk at this time. You got to be working until 5:30. Even if you're actually done with all of your work, you still got to sit here until 5:30 no matter what. My wife had to go on a business trip to California, and I got to take our son to Virginia so that he could see his grandparents for a week. And I spent a week there in Virginia, not taking any vacation time off. I was still working just remotely, but I was able to go see family. Now, I think you guys get the point on this, but the reality is, so far this year in my business, I've made more in the first 8 months in my business than I made in all of 2020 working in my corporate job in a position on the leadership team of a company. And in that role, I only had 2 weeks of vacation. So I've already surpassed the level of vacation that I had in that role. I've doubled my income, and I've had much more freedom and flexibility. And I was commuting 45 minutes each way, leaving the house at 7:30 in the morning, not getting home till 6:30 at night. Now my wife and I have a 1,200 square foot office. I have a recording studio here, I have an office right next door, and it's 7 minutes from our house. So my point is this: until you have the time and freedom and the flexibility to be able to control your schedule and when you work, then it's hard to be completely fulfilled in life. It's hard to be completely happy whenever you have someone else dictating to you when you should show up, when you need to work, how much time you take off, and having to ask permission to do whatever it is that you want to do. Now, if you're getting some value out of this video so far, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop me a comment below and tell me what your thoughts are on this subject. Also, I created a 28-page PDF. If you don't know a lot about my background and you're new to this channel, I wanted building a franchise business that after my wife and I invested over $300,000, we got it profitable in less than 60 days. And I've actually done it with a couple of other businesses now. So on my website, I wrote this free guide and blueprint for you called my 7-Step Blueprint to Business Profits in 60 Days. So I invite you to go get it totally free, and hopefully it'll help you in growing or starting the business that you've always wanted. All right, so point number 2 is that you don't control your income. I was on a call with someone the other day, and they mentioned to me that in their company has a rule that raise increases are capped at 3%. So no matter how well his performance review is, or someone on his team, no matter how great they perform, at the end of the day, all you can make more in your current role is 3%. So even if you're one of the blessed ones that are making a six-figure salary and you're making $100,000 a year, well, guess what? You get a $3,000 a year raise. And then when you start to think about taxes and all the payroll taxes, you end up with $2,000 in your bank account. So great, you were showing up to work every day, like really putting in your all and helping to generate and drive revenue and profits for your company, and you get a $2,000 raise, an increase. Man, that's frustrating, right? To have that cap on how much you can make. And look, the reality is, on a profit and loss statement on a business for a company, an employee expense is always under the expense category. So you as an employee, no matter how valuable you are to the company, no matter what your role is, you are an expense for the company. Even if your boss tells you or the company tells you you're an asset, even if you're in a sales role where you help to produce revenue, you are still an expense for the company. And the overall fundamentals of running and operating a business is to grow your revenues and to minimize your expenses. And that's how you can run as successful as a business as possible from a financial standpoint. So this is the exact reason why when people go to put in their notice and go, okay, I found another job that's gonna pay me more money, then all of a sudden your company goes, well, hold on a second. Well, what if we give you a raise? We'll give you a raise so that you can stay as a retention bonus. And you're kind of like, well, if I'm that valuable, why didn't you pay me more while I was working for you, right? And so part of that reason is because they want to keep the expenses as low as humanly possible. And if it's like, hey, this person's staying, they're doing a good job, why are we gonna just volunteer them more money? And so I know what that feels like. I mean, in my last corporate job that I had, although I'm very grateful for the company for having given me the opportunity, I felt like I wasn't being paid my value, my worth. Now, granted, what they were paying me was very competitive and generous in context of the overall company and what their kind of overall pay scale and structure was for the company and kind of what their revenues and profit margin targets were. But for me, it just wasn't completely in alignment with the level of income that I wanted to create. And the more and more I was there, and I realized that, geez, well, in order to reach the financial goals that I have, I just don't think it's possible to do it at this company. I think I'm capped, and even if I doubled my income here, it's still not what I truly believe that I could make or earn. So now fast forward to having run my business now since January of 2021, my new business at least. I just finished coming off a month where I made as much in a month in my business that I had made in my very first corporate job in a year. And the reality is it would be very challenging to create this level of income in a corporate job. Now, are there people doing it? Yeah, absolutely. You have high-level executives, CEOs of companies that are making $500,000 a year, millions of dollars a year in income. But it's generally the exception and not the rule. And to get to that point in a corporate position where you're making that amount of money, either it requires a massive amount of time, so meaning it could take 10, 15, 20 years for you to be able to get to that position in the corporate level, and you don't really necessarily control the outcome. You could be a top performer, really kill it at work, but because of corporate politics or the corporate red tape and just you don't get along with this person, well, maybe you get passed up on the promotion even though you're producing the better results and performing at a higher level in the company. So when you own your own business, you get to control it. You get to control your income. You get to control your level of effort and output. And not only that, is that you get to figure out and decide how much money do you want to make and determine your quality of life based off of that. So if you're making $200,000 a year in your business in terms of profits and you wanted to go to $500,000 a year and you go, okay, what would it take in order for me to make $500,000 in profits in my business? And you come to the realization that what it takes, you're not willing to do because you want to enjoy more of a quality of life with your family. then you can opt to continue to do that, or you can think strategically and figure out, well, how could I still do that while maintaining the same quality of life? You can delegate to staff or team members and figure out a way to create leverage within your business. That's one of the benefits of being an entrepreneur. Point number 3 is you cannot act on your ideas. Tell me if you've ever had this situation happen. You have a really great idea at work. You're like, I think we can fix that. I think we can make it better. I think we can make it run smoother. And like, you feel confident because you know your position, you know the way things work. You pitch the idea and it falls on deaf ears. And the amazing idea that you've had either gets stuck in just the corporate red tape or the bureaucracy at work, or the person that you tell the idea to doesn't believe in your idea. And they're like, nah, I don't think we should do that. Or, tell me this hasn't happened before. They take your idea and then they take credit for it. And then your great idea gets someone else a promotion or a raise. It's a really frustrating place to be in. And I get it because I've been there. I've been in many roles where I knew with certainty that the ideas that I had would dramatically improve the business from a sales perspective, an operational perspective, in many different perspectives. And it was just either I didn't have the authority, I wasn't in the positional power, or I didn't have the influence, or there was just all this corporate red tape of why the decision wasn't made. Now that I own my own business, I get to make whatever decision that I want to make. But here's the rub to that. When you own your own business and you have the power to make any and all decisions, that comes with a price, because now any good or bad decision, you have to bear the consequence of that decision. But overall, I feel like the reward has outweighed the risk in my business, because you start to learn the value of decision making and different ideas, and that you can't do everything. You know, I think actually as you become an entrepreneur and you run your own business, you start to understand the perspective of your employer a little bit more, and kind of where they're coming from and why things can take so long. But the reality is you at least have the freedom and flexibility to pull the trigger and implement on an idea if you so choose. And you can do it quickly or you can test it. You just have the freedom to be able to be in control and make your own decisions. So what's the solution to all this? Well, you're probably thinking, well, entrepreneurship, of course. And I would say yes and no. So the short-term solution number 1 is for you to be better in your role that you're in right now. As an employee, is to be better, to become more influential, is to do a better job, and to really max out your performance and voice what you want to voice. Make sure your ideas get implemented. If you feel like you need a raise or you deserve a raise, then pitch and ask for a raise. I said pitch, P-I-T-C-H, not the other word. But pitch it to someone and say, hey, I'd like a raise. Here's why I think that I am deserving of a raise, and make a case for it. Or find another job that is more in alignment where you're going to feel valued. Maybe you have more freedom and flexibility, and you have more of the ability to control your income, right? A lot of the roles that I was in, I was fortunate where I was in an incentive-based role where I got a percentage of the revenue that I helped to bring in for the company. So I was able to create and scale my income at a higher level than most who are just in a salary-based position with just a 3% cap. Now, solution number 2 is to start and own your own business and to replace your income so that you can be a full-time entrepreneur. One of the things that I share with my clients that I work with is that there's 3 different paths and ways to do this. Path number 1 is to start your own business from scratch. There are different pros and cons to starting your own business and going through that process. I talk about that in this video here, so check that video out. There will be links in the description below where you can go watch those videos. Number 2 is that you can open a franchise business. So my background and how I got my real start in entrepreneurship, because I had kind of started some businesses that never really fully reached their capacity. But owning my first franchise business and buying another location really helped me to gain the confidence, the skill sets, and start to generate the income so that eventually I could make the full-time transition to being an entrepreneur. And so if you want to learn more about that path and owning a franchise and what that's like, well, you can check out this video, a little bit about my story and how you can go about running and operating a franchise business. I kind of say a franchise is like a business in a box, right? Like you buy the rights to own and operate a system, and you don't have to figure everything out for yourself, so that's certainly a major benefit. Now, the third option, and this is not talked about very commonly, but it's buying a business. Believe it or not, there are businesses out there that you can buy right now. As an example, I have a client. He's a young guy. He's only 26 years old. Because I feel like the objection that you will have as the viewer watching this is like, how can I buy a business? Like, where do I even learn how to do that? One, me, keep watching my videos, so make sure you subscribe because I talk about exactly how to do that. And actually in this video here, I talk about how you go through the process and how you protect yourself. But he didn't have like a ton of money. I mean, he had some money saved, but about $30,000 saved. So it's not like he had a couple $100,000 in the bank. He does not come from a rich family either. And I was able to teach him and coach him to go through the process. He's about to buy a business. He's in escrow right now to buy a business that's already doing over $500,000 a year in revenue. The business is a solid business. It's been in business now for about 4 years. It's a recession-proof type of business. And even after his business loan that he's gonna get, it's going to completely replace all of his income from day one. So buying a business is a great option or opportunity. In this case, he's buying an existing franchise business, but there are opportunities to buy businesses that are franchised, non-franchised, and so that's one of the routes that you can take as well. Especially if you're someone who's a six-figure earner or a high earner in your income and your family, and your family's relying on you. And what makes you the most nervous about making the transition is that gap of between how long it'll take to replace your income. Buying a business is a solution that can really help to solve that problem for you. If you get some value out of this video, then hit the like button and please make sure to subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to receive notifications as soon as I post my videos. Also, drop me a comment and tell me what your thoughts were on this video, and make sure to go grab my 7-step blueprint to business profits in 60 days over at my website. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.